We will be starting at 1 o'clock. We are live streaming now to allow the guests to come in, so there's everybody gets to be involved. Live streaming at 1 o'clock in about 36 minutes. Okay. Oh my God. Can you edit that Google link and clip off the beginning of the meeting with Yes California and the president of Texas? I sent you a screenshot roughly about minute 10:27. So they have not posted up the videos. They're a little bit disorganized. So if you could clip off that first part and start where the debate starts going, then we can post that today. And it would be awesome to post it to the Yes California YouTube channel, because then I can send them the link. And if we get that video up before anybody else, then now Texas Nationals Movement is going to go to our channel and watch our video and celebrate us with the approach.
Good. Oh boy.
Made it.
hmm Well, Marcus, I dare you to say that to my face, and you too, Marinelli.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Uh,
What,
guys.
what are we
Huh?
saying?
I said
What are we
I dare you to
saying to
say
each other's
hello to
faces?
my.
do we have to relive yesterday?
No, have a beer.
Fuji watched the whole thing, and Fuji said, Lewis, that your question was fair, not inappropriate, and that I was fair. So
Yes.
Fuji's one of the first guys I call to go like, did we do something wrong? I don't think we did, but I want to double check. I'm always done. And Fuji's like, no, that was a fair question. It was a fair debate. Didn't you call me Koppel?
Ted Koppel. Yes, Ted Koppel. Yes, indeed.
You hear that, Lewis? Ted Koppel right here. You might be looking like JFK. I'm looking like Koppel.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
He was a great journalist. He was very
Well,
fascinating.
you know what? I think that it's just an important point that, you have a candidate who says he wants to end the EDD, the indirect result of which would be to end things such as disability insurance, end things like the Family Leave Act and the benefits that people receive when they go on maternity leave. And so I asked him simply, hey, if you want to get rid of these programs, you have a child, have you ever received those benefits yourself?
Yeah.
I think it's
a
a fair
lot of
question.
people are
in California
hurting.
don't know.
In California, people are hurting. They need all the help they could get. It's tough out here. Yeah, these people need assistance, and a lot of these mothers are single moms. So we got a
Yeah,
lot
and then
of
you have a
single moms
candidate
out.
who's going around talking about, oh, I want to end Cal Fire, oh, I want to end state taxes, oh, I want to end the EDD, oh, I want to end
Did
all
he
the
say
other
Cal
acronyms.
Fire? You
He
said
did say
Cal
Cal
Fire?
Fire. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's too hot to
His
handle.
website says he wants to end Cal Fire and all the other acronyms in state government. And these are things that people depend on for their livelihood. So it's not just some abstract philosophical discussion about, oh, let's end, program ABC. And, we can discuss whether or not we need it. These are programs that people rely on for their livelihoods, for their health, for their safety. And he just wants to delete them and remove them just because he has a disagreement with them on an ideological basis. Well, this is not about ideology. This is about people's lives and health and safety. So, of course, somebody has to stand up to that kind of ridiculousness and call them out.
Cal Fire, we need. It's really dry out here. The drought, it's bad. A lot of states, Utah, California, Oregon, it's really bad. We don't have the water levels. They say that if there's a drought for 2 years, it goes on another year, it's a dead tree. Trees, we're really getting devastated, hit hard. And I'm scared that Gavin Newsom might call the election earlier because he knows what a lot of us know. We've been in a drought, and the fire season is very dangerous. It's very real, especially for us in the LA area. The dry season is just, oh my gosh, it's rough. And as you know, we need water for everything, farmers, businesses, for us at home. So it's going to be a very difficult year, 2021. Cal Fire, whoa, they got their work cut. Amazing job. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
KQED just did a story. That's KQED, not Fox News. And they said Newsom straight up lied about his fire prevention last year. So that is not Fox News. That's a PBS station saying Governor lied to the public about his work on fire prevention last year. PBS said that. So
really,
it's kind of
gives
strong.
me faith on PBS. Yeah, PBS. Good for them.
If it's Fox News, you may go, okay, well, they're biased, but this is PBS.
Sure, left and right. That's good. I'm glad PBS is sharing that information. He was relaying information about Newsom lying about the fire prevention of last year.
Yeah, he basically he said they were doing all sorts of stuff, and then he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. That's what PBS is. Well, again, not Fox News, not Newsmax, not the Republican Party, PBS.
My personal opinion is we should have declared all counties in California an emergency situation for the drought. Our water tables are so low. I would appreciate it if President Biden would declare a federal emergency for the drought. As far as I know, there's never been a federal declaration for a drought emergency. I can't remember if there's ever been one. Have you, Marcus?
A federal declaration of a drought emergency. I would need to look that up.
I don't
Obama
think
may
so,
have
right?
one.
I don't think so, but I would appreciate it if the president would do that because it's really that serious. And unfortunately, I feel that Gavin Newsom isn't sharing the public how serious it is. It is dire. And it's really apolitical. I mean, science is science, numbers are numbers. You're not going to lie about how much water we have and don't have. It's pretty self-evident, and so, when we have acreage or feet of water, it's all out there in the media. It's all public, somewhat, not exactly. Although Gavin Newsom did go out and declare a majority of counties emergency situation, but unfortunately not all counties, which I would have done. But I believe he would after the election. But I feel that that's to let you know, as an elected official, what I'm hearing is he's going to do an early election. They're going to try to change the election law to some way fit the narrative for Gavin Newsom. And I just think the candidates need to know about that. They need to get ready, get their speeches ready. I really believe it would be politically advantageous for an incumbent governor like Newsom to do it soon. I mean, literally August or July. I would like to do it in November. Give people some time, because a lot of us don't have the staff that Gavin Newsom has or the helicopters. Unless you, Marcus, you might have a helicopter.
You're not wrong.
He's a talented politician and smart campaigner. So I really think the logical move would to do it before the wildfires start, before President Biden declares a federal emergency based on the drought. I believe it's that serious. And I feel that President Biden knows from Kamala Harris that how serious is out here. And I have to say, I'm not happy that Kamala Harris is not helping us with the drought. And all I have to say to that in Spanish, you know what it is? Que mala.
I call Kamala Harris a vendida. Do you know what that is? Ella es una vendida. And I called her that a few months ago, and I was proud. And I said that when everybody was like, "Oh, you're crazy for saying that." And I go, "Nope, watch."
Yeah. Well, I did the name on the
Latin kids in cages.
Yeah.
Harris.
And she's
you can't visit the border. Harris.
Very intelligent.
I called that so early on. I go, she is a racial sellout, and she will sell out people. Watch. That's exactly what happened.
Professor Wade, hello.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
Professor Wade, are you okay with the food in Bangladesh? It is really spicy. Are you okay with spicy food?
Yeah. No, I love the food, and can you hear me? I love the food in Bangladesh, but unfortunately, I got food poisoning at the airport early in the morning. It seems they had last night's food at the counter, but still, it's the 5 years that I was there, I really enjoyed it. They wouldn't give me a visa though for my to extend my teaching at North South University. I was really disappointed in this, but I love the kids and everything at North South University was really great.
Hmm. I remember a lot of Indians I know when I do geopolitics, they would argue because the Indians would be Hindu and the Bangladesh would be Muslim. And it's funny because, they would argue back and forth, and the
Yeah,
Bangladesh people.
yeah. But basically, though, they talk about the Bangla people, and those it starts in Nepal and goes down through India, through Bangladesh. Now, they have many customs that are Hindu in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is very much a tolerant country, although they do have some extremist Muslims. There was an attack in 2016 on foreigners at a bakery, but generally speaking, they're very tolerant people. But I did a lot for the CPA for accountants in southern the southern hemisphere. I got the AICPA to give the CPA exam in India in 7 test sites. So now the people from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan can take the exam.
Wow. Did you ever do anything with a CMA, like Certified Management Accountant?
Yeah, I'm a CMA, and I promoted around the world. When I was in Mozambique, I was teaching the CMA to my staff because the CMA was the only international certification that you could pass it piecemeal to get a bachelor, the equivalent of a bachelor's degree. It was a program in South Africa. So the Mozambique people would study with me for the CMA and then go pass it in Johannesburg. It was a very good program. And the CMA is an up-and-coming certification. It acknowledges you as a expert in cost accounting. And that's where the big money is in accounting these days. It's not in a public accounting, which is more of a review of the last year's financial statements and you render an opinion. Cost accounting, or CMA accounting, is where you plan with an engineer projects and how to minimize the financial expenditures and so forth. It's it's a very good certification to have. And of course, I have the CIA also, which is Certified Internal Auditor. That's for auditors in the government that specializes in governmental accounting and state governments. A lot of state governments want the CIA certificate as opposed to the CPA. But all three, the CPA, CIA, CMA, are all appropriate for an accounting career, you know?
Right. What about Marcus,
Yes.
there's a state near Bangladesh called Assam. Yeah. So anyway, the Bangladesh would get the Hindu politicians mad. They would say, I don't make the joke, I eat the joke, because they eat beef in Bangladesh. Get it?
My understanding is that.
Well, here's the
But in
thing.
India, the cows are sacred. The cows sacred in India. But they eat
but
the
listen,
cow in
one of the
Bangladesh.
greatest one of the greatest experiences I had was every year on Ramadan, the North-South University that I was at would get about 10 cows and slaughter them for Ramadan. And then the mullahs would bless the meat and give the meat to the poor people of Bangladesh. And the poor would line up and get their meat packages. It was such a beautiful sight. I've never seen such wonderful, happy people, because they have a wretched life. The poor people of Bangladesh have a wretched life, and they get this meat, and they're really on top of the world. It was a wonderful thing to see that. But now in India, the cows go roaming free, and you can't touch
They're
the
sacred
cow.
to the Hindus, yeah.
And yeah, they're sacred. But I think I'm more concerned with the elephants. You see, the SPCA in India doesn't want the elephants to be used in the temples anymore, and virtually 100% of the Asian elephants are pets like dogs and cats. And so if they make it impossible to keep the elephant in the temples, the elephants will soon go extinct. You see, they're different from the African elephant, which is wild. So I wish the SPCA or whoever is doing the pressure on India to give up its elephants, they should stop. Otherwise, the elephants would disappear. And they're also a god. I forget what god that is, but the Hindu have 10,000 deities.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second.
Well, the primary is, Shiva.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Let me just do a little housekeeping. We are going to start in 5 minutes with the recall candidates debate live June 27th at 1 p.m., including questions from the Times of San Diego reporters Herman Spivak and Elias. We will be starting in 5 minutes. This is the pre-stream. The debate has not started. The debate will start in 5 minutes.
Hey, Dan.
Hey.
You know what I really want to do as governor, and if you become governor, please do it for me. Let's put all the 3 law books in public libraries, contract, tort, and criminal, so we could expedite reading the law program for high school kids. What do you think?
It's not like 3. They're not like 3 books. Well, I only can
hear did you hear me? Yeah. Help get public libraries all the law books needed to do the program called Reading the Law.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Because some of these law books are so expensive.
I might not
They're
be
out of
able
their
to.
reach.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's true. But most libraries do have them.
Public ones?
Well, what I propose is free arbitration courts. In South Africa, one of Mandela's greatest accomplishments was the CCMA, which was forced arbitration. If you had a legal dispute with someone, you could force them into an arbitration court, and they'd have to abide by the verdict unless they opt out before the court session begins. And if they don't opt out and go to a regular court and pay the money, then they must abide by the arbitration court, which is free. And this virtually would be used, it has been used a lot in labor disputes and in housing disputes. And virtually now in South Africa, you can't fire someone without a good reason, whereas in California, you can file. Everyone works at will. This is really a terrible injustice, and although it's not exercised that much by employers, but people can be in South Africa. You can take your employer to the CCMA court for nothing, and your landlord to the CCMA court for nothing. So it makes it very, very difficult to evict anybody. And I think that that type of court should be instituted here in California. It would really be great, as well as what Uncle Jerry Brown has done in trying to eliminate bail. Bail is another great injustice,
Mm-hmm. Well, on the good front, I do believe Gavin Newsom did a good job on help protecting renters. So that was a good thing. That he did a good job on that issue.
Well, yeah, he's pro-business. He's put there by the rich, the 6 or 7 rich families of San Francisco, and they've helped him at every step of his career, bankrolling his ventures into the restaurant business and bankrolling all of his campaigns. In every single question, he was side on behalf of the rich people. Now, he is an elitist that doesn't know what it is to be poor like you and I are. I consider anyone who has less than $3 million a poor person. A house and an insurance policy does not make you a millionaire. Most people are poor, and Gavin Newsom is an elitist. And when you talk about the Democrats, they're not elitists. They have they're controlling the state. This is a blue state, but most of them, like Willie Brown, was a janitor working his way through law school. You have the Brown family that has no money. They're basically just leaders.
Okay,
it's only Gavin Newsom is Marie Antoinette, the elitist.
So we're going to stop there, and we're going to start the debates. Thank you all. We'll be starting now. I'm going to do the commercials. We will come out. I will explain the format, and then we will go from there. 1 second.
It's the California Recall Debate, hosted by Yes California.
Special thanks to Bill Hensley, a Broadway star of 30 years across America. He's done multiple Broadway plays. We were fortunate enough to be able to hire him as a former Californian in order to do a special commercial to raise the profile of the recall debates. Yes, California is now entering into, I believe, our 8th panel of recall debates. We've had 7 already. We are the only organization hosting these debates. That's what apparently 20 plus candidates have been telling us over the last month and a half. We believe them. We have already contacted 2/3 of the candidates, although there's about 50. We're in contact with about 27. Every candidate has the ability to join these recall debates, hosted every single Sunday at 1. Additionally, every candidate has the ability to ask any other candidate to a one-on-one debate about any topic they wish. And Yes, California will make sure to get that message to the other candidate, provided they apply. We will set that up. These are opportunities available for everybody. Additionally, we're very pleased to announce that California Globe, who has covered these debates, has offered to all declared candidates that they will consider publishing an op-ed from them. This is a good way to highlight your candidacy. And I can confirm that now the editor of California Globe and the editor of California Focus have both agreed to ask questions directly of the candidates at a future debate for those candidates who paid the filing fee of $4,000. We are waiting for the paperwork to come out. When it does, and for those candidates who pay the $4,000 filing fee, they will be allowed to be in a debate with the editors of 2 different California news organizations, raising those candidates' profile. Look forward to that as more information comes out soon. For today's debate, we're going to be returning to some popular questions that we've had. We've begun to select questions already asked by other reporters in the news. We're pulling questions today from the Times of San Diego, which did a debate on their news where they asked different candidates to send in their question. It wasn't live. It was reading off written statements. But they did ask some high-profile questions. Additionally, we've been taking questions from reporters Herman Spivak and Elias, and we will be asking those questions of the candidates here at this forum. Our idea is to be able to slip the candidates' answers into the mainstream news narratives so that each candidate gets more attention. Whether or not they choose to cover what you say will be up to them, but we're trying to position everyone in the best position possible. So we're going to start with opening statements. Each candidate will be given a 2-minute allowance for an opening statement where they can introduce themselves and how they'd like to be seen by the voters. Let me do a random number generator real quick. Okay. And in this list goes Fuji, Dan, Wade, and we'll put Lewis in case he shows. Let me. Okay. The order will be Lewis, Fuji, Dan, and Wade. Let me type that into the ticker. There you go. The recall debate will be live. It's happening right now. It starts at 1 o'clock. Questions will be from the Times of San Diego reporters Herman, Spivak, Elias. The order for the candidates to respond to all questions for 1.5 minutes per question will be Lewis, Fuji, Dan, and Wade. I was not responsible for the order of the candidates being asked questions. Random.org provided a randomized list, so there's no favoritism here. Going in that order, I see that Lewis is not here at this moment. We're going to go to Fuji. Fuji, you are first with a 2-minute introductory statement about your campaign. Candidate Fuji.
Hello, my name is Hilaire Fujishiura. I'm your independent pro-life candidate for California governor. Aside from that, I'm one of the few people that are already elected already. Gavin Newsom is one. Jeff Hewitt of Riverside is another. And what makes me the most qualified candidate is because being an elected official, it is my privilege to be here with the other candidates and so many other candidates I've been debating on this platform at Yes California. And now more than ever, I want to take this opportunity to you, Gavin Newsom, Jeff Hewitt. You and I are both running for California governor. You and I are both elected officers of the state in some capacity. Mine is at a small local level, yours at a state level, some is at a county level like Jeff Hewitt. Gavin Newsom. Please, now is the time to get engaged. You claim, allege, and say you want to serve the best interests of the people. You represent the people, the ordinary people. As you can see in front of me, I have ordinary Californians here as fellow candidates. I implore you to come on Yes California and debate the pressing issues with us, the average Californians. Immigration, healthcare, earthquake preparedness, job creation, health climate, the drought that should have been declared a federal emergency months ago. Now is the time to have a vigorous and civil discussion with my fellow candidates, everyday Californians like Professor Wade and Dale Kaplovitz and Marcus and Louis Marinelli. Now is the time to do it. So I'm an elected candidate, and I'm one of the most qualified candidates because I know it is my privilege to be here with them. And I thank all the candidates running. You're an amazing group of characters and people that I will learn from. And I'm here to listen and learn and debate. Thank you.
We're going to go to Louis Marinelli. Louis was first. We skipped over him because of tech difficulties. Louis Marinelli, a 2-minute introductory statement to your campaign. Candidate Marinelli.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. I'm glad that I am able to be connected at the moment, although I may not be able to promise to be at the whole debate because I have a poor internet connection. As everybody knows, I'm in Moscow, Russia right now, but actually not even in Moscow, but I'm outside the city at a country house, enjoying the weekend with some friends and family. So it's good to be here with you all, and once again to see some familiar faces and discuss the issues of the day, the problems that California faces. My candidacy for governor is surrounded around and based upon solving those problems by addressing two important issues: the cost of living and the quality of life. We want to reduce the cost of living in California. We want to increase the quality of life in California. That's what my campaign is about. I have some interesting approaches to achieving those goals, one of which is, of course, as everyone knows, I'm the candidate running on the platform of making California an independent country. And I believe that by keeping California's taxes in California, by reducing our payments to subsidize the American military regime and American imperialism abroad, we can keep the money that we need for these public programs that will increase the quality of life in California and reduce the cost of living in California. We can keep our money in California that will allow us to do that. So my candidacy is unique because it's not about, you know, recycling typical political promises from people like Kevin Faulconer, people like Caitlyn Jenner is out there recycling Republican promises. My candidacy is about offering a new change. Now, not everybody's going to agree with that change. Not everybody's going to like that proposal, but that's what an election's about. I'm going to fill in the gap where there's a missing candidate, a candidate that's saying that it's time for California to secede from the United States of America, become its own independent country. That's why I'm running in this campaign. My name is Louis Marinelli. Visit my website at calixatgovernor.com.
Thank you. We're going to go to Dan next. A 2-minute opening statement for Dan.
Thank you. My name's Dan Kapelovitz. I'm running for governor. Unlike Fuji, I'm not a political insider. He's an elected official. We need someone, an outsider, to shake things up. You know, we're sick of this status quo. And unlike Mr. Marinelli, I love America and I want to keep in the union. We did a lengthy debate last week, and you can reference that, but I want to keep in the union. And if anything, we should partition California into multiple states only to have more senators, and that might be more representational. I am a criminal defense attorney, and I also do animal rights cases. I believe that animal justice issues are tied with environmental justice and the environment and global warming, and we need to address factory farming, which is really one of the biggest causes of global warming. And we got to just do a whole new overhaul of the criminal justice system. The mass incarceration here is crazy. I want to decriminalize drugs. I want to get rid of bail. We shouldn't hold people in jail just because they can't afford it. I want to get rid of these insane enhancements that keep people in prison for decades and decades, way longer than necessary. I won't be afraid, unlike Gavin Newsom, to pardon people who, like Leslie Van Houten, who obviously deserves to be pardoned. She's been recommended, parole. She's been recommended for parole. He just for political purpose, he's keeping this woman who's the longest serving woman in California prison history, I believe, just because he thinks it might hurt his political career. He doesn't care about the truth and justice. And even though I'm against the recall, I am a critic of Gavin Newsom. I am taking credit, real quick. I am taking credit for his rent forgiveness. He did take that from my campaign, and I think we really pushed him to do that, and he's just trying to, you know, beat the recall. But I appreciate that he's listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Wade, 2 minutes. How would you like the people of California to see you as the appropriate leader of 40 million people, the world's 5th largest economy? Let me make sure you are unmuted. You are unmuted now. 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My background is I'm a CPA. I was born in San Francisco. I have a doctor of business administration from Golden Gate University. I have 40 years of experience in running various businesses overseas mostly. And I have 10 years of teaching accounting in Muslim universities overseas. Most recently, I've been in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Bangladesh, where I lost my visa. They kicked me out after 5 years. That's why I'm back here. I'm driving a cab, hoping to get back to a university, or now this opportunity has come up for me to be governor. I think I'm not a regular politician. This is a one-time only opportunity for the state of California. People like me don't involve themselves in politics. We're either in university or we run businesses. Now, I must say I spent 20 years in Africa. I have a special award from USAID for anti-apartheid activity, and my teaching in Muslim universities was intended to reduce the amount of Muslim extremism. There's many Americans that teach in Muslim universities hoping to reduce the amount of tension between the West and Muslim countries. I've written a book Hamilton was correct. The U.S. dollar will remain supreme, warning the coming crash of gold. People who buy the book will contribute to my campaign. The major point of the book, if I can summarize it, there's many points, but the major point is the state of California must take back the ability to print money, which was given up to the federal government in 1787. What that means functionally is that our budget and balances should be part of the national debt. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's get to, please post those comments. Comment on anything here, any candidates say, we will post it up as long as it's appropriate and relevant to what they're saying. We're going to go down to our, we're going to go down to our very first question. This question comes from Reporter Spivak. Now, some of you may have been asked this question. I apologize. We're trying to get as many answers to these questions as possible. Joshua Spivak is one of the foremost experts referred to by multiple news media organizations on the California recall. He has said that the longer Gavin has, the more he can put that money to use and overwhelm the opposition. So the question is to you, showing your understanding of the political situation and environment as it evolves here in California, is there a reason why Gavin Newsom would want to prolong the recall vote or shorten it and have it sooner? And why would he do that? Need you to place yourself in the situation of Governor Newsom. Does he want the recall vote to come sooner? Does he want it to come later? Why would he want that? This is your ability to show the voters that you understand how to think like a governor. We'll go in order. The first person to answer the question on does Gavin Newsom want the election to come sooner or later, and why would he strategically want that, will be Louis Marinelli. Let me unmute you. Sorry about that. You are unmuted. You are unmuted.
Well, I think it's a funny question because it's not necessarily to think like a governor to am I unmuted?
You are unmuted. Everyone can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think that it was thinking like a governor to decide if you're going to try to manipulate an election for your own benefit. That's not thinking like a governor. So I would say that, if I were him trying to manipulate the election in such a way where I would benefit from the date that the election takes place, I would want it to happen as soon as possible. Because if you allow more time to go by, you are opening up the window for more problems to arise that are bound to happen as governor. You're bound to have problems no matter who you are. And what we've seen is when Gavin Newsom has problems, he makes the wrong decisions on how to fix those problems. In fact, he doesn't fix the problems, he makes them worse. And so I think that it's in his interest to have an election as soon as possible, specifically so that he doesn't have any more problems that he can screw up on. And that's why I think that he's going to manipulate the decision by the legislature to hold the election.
Okay. We're going to go now to Fuji. Fuji, your answer, sir, in a minute and a half.
Yes, thank you. Well, I have to agree with Dan. I am an insider, quote unquote. I'm elected. So I will say there is waste and fraud on so many levels. And I agree that we need to really get involved. And one way we could do that is running for elected office like here. Now, to your pertinent question, Marcus, I believe it is advantageous for the sitting incumbent governor, Gavin Newsom, to have the election much, much sooner, to give less time and preparation for lesser known candidates. Also, they're going to probably change the law to favor the incumbent, okay, perhaps this Monday. So unfortunately, there won't be enough time. I would like to see an election in the second Tuesday of November, but I don't believe that will happen. I believe that the nepotism and the corruption inside our state government, county government, local government, is going to propel the election much, much sooner to the advantage of Gavin Newsom. So it will not be prolonged. He already has vast sums of money access to. So he will have the election much, much sooner. So this is unfair and it's concerning. So we should have the election in November, but it won't happen. It'll be sooner. And they're going to change the election law, recall law, probably this week, like Monday or even Tuesday.
Okay.
That's my prediction. Thank you.
Let's go to the next in line is Dan. Your response, sir.
Yes, first I'd like to do a shout out to a dedicated debate viewer, Jason Wright. I see his comments all the time, and I agree with him. He said that if Newsom, if he's so great, he should come to these debates and debate us. What is he afraid of? What are you afraid of, Gavin? Come on, bring it on. There you go. So I agree with Jason there, and I appreciate his dedicated viewership of these debates. I see him every week. Now, I agree with the first two candidates. Yeah, I don't know what Spivak is talking about. Newsom wants this election as soon as possible. Right now, the COVID situation seems pretty good. Everything's open. People are pretty happy. This could get worse. It usually does get worse in the fall. So, of course, he wants this election now. And great. And also, there's going to be, it could be forest fires. It could be power outages. Yes, he wants it immediately while he's sort of up in the polls. I agree. I want it in November. We need time to reach the people. We're not that well known. We need time to get our message out. I want this in November when people are used to voting. Also, I think it'll bring out more people, and the more people, I think, the better chances we have. And I agree. I think there probably is going to be corruption, and who makes these decisions are going to be all insiders, and they are going to try to push this, ram this through, and we need to fight that. Also, this is unrelated, but we all have to turn in our tax returns. I have no problem with that. I have nothing to hide, but I do think it is unjust. I do think it's an invasion of privacy, and I will be challenging that legally in the courts. So that's going to take a little bit of time also.
You heard it here first. Okay, let's go to Wade. Let me unmute you. Sorry. You're unmuted.
Yes. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, you can hear me fine.
Yes, we can hear you. Please start, sir.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, my point is, it doesn't matter if he has the election now or later. He's doomed because of his many mistakes. Just to list them, when the COVID shutdown was announced, he should have put out TARP money. He should have got a loan from the federal government to preserve the businesses with infusions of cash, the way that George W. Bush did for the 2008 financial meltdown. This was not done. So he has all that huge mistake that was made. The gig unemployment EDD payments haven't been paid in 2 years. That's still an outstanding mistake that he hasn't corrected, has made many people angry. He says that, well, somebody stole the money. Again, he should get an infusion of money from the federal government to pay the gig unemployment. This is a gig unemployment, not the regular unemployment. The fire season is starting. The state is going to burn as never before, and the mistake that Gavin made, he did not have enough fire prevention, and he lied to the public and said that he did so much fire prevention, but the state agency has stated that only half of that was done. So these mistakes are compounding. He's doomed, whether he has the election now or he has the election in the future. That he's just made some awful mistakes. And while the people are starving and suffering, he goes to the French restaurant and like Marie Antoinette says that we can eat cake instead of bread when we're all starving here. He's an elitist. The other Democrats are not elitists.
Sorry.
He is has always.
I apologize. We have to have equal time for all candidates. We're trying to keep it to a minute and a half. Thank you all for participating. I would request, if candidates could, please directly answer the question. We work very hard to come up with questions that voters actually want to see. And you're given an opportunity to give your closing and opening statement to say whatever you want. If a question's asked, please focus on that question. We deeply appreciate that here. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go now to the next person, who will be, one second, I'm trying to make sure I get the order. Okay, we're going to go down to, yeah, it's the next question. Right. Thank you, Dan.
Whoa. We lost
What is that? I'm sorry, one second. Here is the next question. Tom Elias is the reporter who started the 2003 recall election. He didn't intentionally do it. He outed Governor Gray Davis, but he's been pivotal in it. Tom has been routinely interviewed about these current recall debates, offering his opinion in newspaper articles. Here's one of the questions that he asked people. He will also be appearing in a future debate here at Yes California. The question is, why do these candidates think that they could do better than Gavin Newsom? So again, a question from reporter Tom Elias, who started the earlier recall 2 decades ago. He's involved in this one, asking questions, reporting, and the question that he's most interested in is, why do candidates running for office feel they could do better than Newsom? I will again ask candidates, please focus on the question. We will go in order of the random list, generated list, and the first person up will be Lewis. Lewis is not here. We will now go to Fuji. Fuji in a minute and a half. Why do you think that you would do better than Tom Elias?
I know I would do better because I'm an elected official. And I would say this, I'm privileged to be here representing the people of California in this capacity, that it is my privilege, not the privilege of Dan or Louis Martinelli or Wade. It's my privilege as an elected official to be here. I understand that we have to represent and serve the people, the taxpayers. And I really will believe that and walk the walk. And just as importantly, I have bold new idea that really is outside of the box, such as a cryptocurrency. Working with our members of Congress to have a genuine humanitarian reform for our immigration rights, for our families and that are here in California. And also have a detailed plan to really improve our educational systems in high school, middle school, elementary, and in college. And just as important also, I see what's going on. I witnessed it. I was at a board meeting on June 21st, 2021. I was prohibited from using my laptop. It was over a $2 million budget, and I had questions, and I was not allowed to use my laptop for that board meeting. I see the censorship. I see the corruption. I see the concerns in the people. I live it. I see it. I'm going to fight it. So that's my answer, and I'm so proud to be here with all the other candidates. Thank you.
Dan, how would you respond to this question by the reporter?
Well, first of all, Fuji keeps saying he's an elected official. So is Newsom. So you're in the same boat as Newsom. Like I said, you're just an insider. I mean, you're a local, I don't even know what you're elected to. I mean, dog catcher or something. I'm not sure. But Newsom, you know, he's better than most of these, you know, guys running, like the Republic, John Cox, the bear exploiter, or Caitlyn Jenner. But he is a corporate stooge. He's beholden to, you know, special interests. He is an elitist. He is afraid to do the right thing when he thinks it might hurt his chances. I think his goal is obvious he wants to be president of the United States. I guess he could secede from the nation, be president of California if he listened to Lewis, but obviously that's never going to happen. And I just think I'm the guy. I'm on the front lines. I deal with all kinds of people every day. I don't just deal with people who Newsom deals with. I actually could represent all Californians, unlike him. I don't care what your beliefs are. I want to represent all Californians. And I think I have the ideas that are gonna blow Newsom's away, blow everyone else's away, and especially these Republican candidates are trying to sneak in with this recall election. Thank you.
We're going to go to Louis Marinelli, and then we'll go back to Wade. Louis Marinelli, why do you think you do better than the current governor of California? Sorry, you are unmuted. You have to unmute yourself on your end. Louis, you have muted yourself on your end. Okay, we're going to go to Wade. Sorry for the technical difficulties, doing the best we can. Wade, the question goes to you. Why are you the best candidate? And what could you do better than Newsom?
Well, first of all, I'm a poor person, like most of the people of California, and I define poor as people having $3 million or less. A house and an insurance policy does not make you rich. And Gavin Newsom is an elitist. He has been backed by 6 or 7 of the richest families of San Francisco that have bankrolled his bar and restaurant in San Francisco, his campaign for mayor, his campaign for lieutenant governor, and now they back him for his governor. He's not touched with the problems that we have here. He just ignores them. And basically, I can do a much better job. I've been a CPA and an executive of corporations for 40 years, and then I have taught people how to run businesses and how to be good leaders for the last 10 years on the university level. I'm also someone with a conscience. I fought against apartheid in South Africa, and I fight now in universities in Muslim countries to reduce the amount of Islamic extremism. Gavin Newsom has been a spoiled child from his family. He doesn't know what it is to work hard. He doesn't have any touch with the common person. I would be a much better governor. I know what it is to be poor.
Thank you. Again, we try to keep it to a minute and a half. Thank you all for participating. We're going to go to Louis Marinelli. Louis, the question is to you. Why do you think you would do better than Newsom in a minute and a half?
Sure. First, I apologize for the technical difficulties. If they keep occurring, I'm just going to bow out for the night so I don't interrupt the process any further. Basically, my answer to the question why I think I could be a better governor than Gavin Newsom is simply because Gavin Newsom has so many, obligations to please his donors and political action committees that have bought him, and he's required to decide how he's going to govern California based on, preserving his political donations that he receives from different industries. That makes it very difficult to make the right decision while also trying to please the people who are paying you to make decisions that will benefit them. I'm not bought and paid for like any other politician in Sacramento, not just Gavin Newsom. It's a problem with so many politicians, and not only California, in the United States and around the world, to be honest with you. So I think that's one benefit that I think most of the people in this debate.
I apologize for the technical difficulties. It appeared that he froze out. Let me check. We're having a lot of technical difficulties today. I'm not sure why. We have gone through all 4 people with that question. We will now go to the third question. Third question for each candidate. California has the highest homeless veteran population in the country. As a Vietnam-era veteran, I would like to know how you, as governor, would address the homeless crisis amongst our veteran heroes. The question comes from Diane Herman. We will go in the order, and the first person up is Louis. Louis is not here. We will then go to Fuji. Fuji, in a minute and a half, your response, sir.
Yes, thank you. This is a very serious situation. I've talked to a lot of homeless veterans, and it's a concern. And we have to prioritize our management of homeless services. And one of the top priorities would be serving the needs of homeless shelters, specifically for veterans. I believe we could do much more broader outreach with Salvation Army and a few organizations out there to really find some way to build affordable housing in some less dense areas, perhaps up north, Eureka, and up in Northern California, where it's much less expensive to do construction versus Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego. So that is one option I'm looking into.
We're experiencing technical difficulties with Fuji's connection to the stream. Please bear
Need
with
so
us.
desperately. Little cutout there, huh?
Mhm.
Okay. And so we need to give homeless services to the veterans as soon as possible, in addition to the mental services some of these brave men and women have with post-traumatic stress. So I want to be very clear. My homeless services will have 3 tiers of level of priority: homeless families, and then veterans, and then the other homeless people. So I want to put that out there. There will be certain levels of priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person will be Dan.
Yes, we have to address all homelessness, not just veterans, but of course, veterans do have special needs sometimes because of their experiences. We need to decriminalize or not criminalize homelessness. I'm in court all the time. I've seen people being criminalized just for being homeless, being overcharged. People need help. They don't need to be put in jail. We need to be smart about homelessness. We waste so much money on things that don't do anything. We could get people homes. We need more rent control. Some people are being thrown out of their homes because landlords are either there is no rent control or they're doing these little sneaky ways to get out of it, evicting people illegally, doing all kinds of things. We need to change the laws to protect people so they can't just be kicked out. We need to really put the money to help these people. There's all these things keep getting voted on to get billions of dollars for homelessness, and I haven't seen one change. In fact, it's worse than ever. So I don't know what they're doing up there in Sacramento. So that's another aspect that I would just blow away, Mr. Newsom. Thank you.
Thank you. Wade, your response, sir.
Yeah, well, first I got to tell you that I devoted 2 years of my life to the war in Vietnam, and my dad was a Pearl Harbor volunteer, and I worked for USAID in the Inspector General overseas. I've been in war-torn countries such as Mozambique and Angola for 4 years, and I've been on the periphery of war in Saudi Arabia for several years while wars were going on nearby. But I understand the sacrifice the veterans have made, and they should be given our first priority. But all the homelessness must be solved. I'm not saying Gavin Newsom is responsible for the homelessness in San Francisco, but it went up since he was mayor, when he had the campaign issue of care not cash, basically by giving so many benefits to the homeless, a lot of homeless converged in San Francisco. I have met foreigners. I've met Saudis that have been divorced from their wife in Saudi Arabia and come here and live in Section 8 housing. I've met veterans of communist regimes that become American residents, and they come here to benefit from the homeless give out. But basically, given that this give out is humanitarian, it's not enough. The home increases. We should have a massive housing construction of the type that was done in World War II with cheap cheap kind of military housing to help these homeless. And Gavin Newsom should not go to French restaurants and enjoy his birthday party while these homeless
Thank you.
persons suffer on the streets
you.
of San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Okay, we
There
have
should
to
be a
stop there.
massive.
Thank you very much. That was a response from Fuji, Dan, and Wade with roughly a minute and a half per candidate. We will now go to the third question, or the fourth question from the Times of San Diego. And here's the question from the Times of San Diego. We will go in order. The first up will be Fuji. Fuji, if you could go into a time machine and you could travel back in time and you did not know what you knew now, your governor, 40 million people, millions projected to die, very little information or guidance from the scientific community or any other fellow government, what would you have done differently given the situation and armed with only the information the governor had at that time? Fuji Shiori.
Thank you. What I would have done differently is, first and foremost, made it a state order that any vaccines related to the coronavirus would have to be open source to encourage the public to get vaccinated and to make sure that it is open source so they know
Give it a second. His stream will return.
what's in the vaccine.
Fuji, you're cutting out. Okay.
Okay, I'm back. And so what I would have done is definitely make the vaccines open source. I would definitely give the options, and I would definitely have school openings in a limited capacity. So the less kids in the high schools and middle schools and the elementary schools, and I have some nighttime classes for the high school kids. So we had some in session. And I would also make sure the businesses would be well funded and prepared, because unfortunately, a lot of businesses were forced to close. They were told what to do and not assisted to do. And so it was really important. I would have been working better and closer with our businesses instead of making a mandate for them to shut down. So
Thank you.
in conclusion, that would have been my offer. Make the vaccines open source to build more confidence and understanding of what all the vaccines to make sure they're safe. And also make it an option. Thank you.
Dan, if you were Newsom and you only had the information that he had at that time in March, what would you have done differently?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't have had curfews. I would have actually supported businesses being open 24 hours a day so people would be more spread out, especially grocery stores. It was ridiculous. They only had limited hours, so there'd be massive lines and crowds. I would encourage schools maybe to go outside, although he might not known what at that point whether being outside was safe. I would have tried to get testing done, because that was really, if people could know that they were infected with COVID, then they could quarantine themselves. And I think most people don't want to infect other people. And it was almost impossible to get tested in the early days. And that should have been a priority. Masks, they shouldn't have, like Dr. Fauci lied and said we didn't need masks. I would have said, look, we do need masks, and made it a priority. It's not that hard to mass produce masks. We had to buy them from other countries and all that. We should have made that a priority and helped, just like the World War II, they'd have other businesses, they turn them into a business, industry to help the war efforts. We needed to do that with COVID. And so it's easy to say 2020, but I think I would have done a better job than Gavin Newsom.
That's what the question's designed to do. It's easy to go back and say, knowing what we know now. The question is not knowing what we know now. Having only the information at that time, how would you have handled it
But
differently?
even knowing we know now, nobody really agrees what we should have done.
Fair enough. The question goes to to Wade. Wade, you are unmuted.
Yes.
Wade, you are unmuted.
Right. Well, Thank you. Well, first of all, I wasn't here in California in March of 2020. I was in Bangladesh, and I just know I can't really comment on the provisions that were made in the state as far as curfew and shutting down businesses. For one thing, for sure, as Dan mentioned, that the businesses as they were shut down should have been heavily subsidized by Gavin Newsom, the same way W. Bush had subsidized businesses that were with TARP money that were were close to being closed because of the financial meltdown in 2008. He could have done this, and he could have kept the schools open longer, and but everything else, I really don't know what was going on here at that time. Now, I must tell you that in Bangladesh, they had massive testing, they had massive shutdowns, and they basically gave some provision so people could get the food that they wanted. But one thing which really surprised me as I came to California, SFO, in November of 2020, nobody from the state of California checked me at the airport. I just walked from the passport control into California. There was no quarantine. There was no questioning, no nothing. But the state of Bangladesh had given me a COVID-19 test, and I was vaccinated later. But I was really surprised that the airport did not have a layer of security questioning Americans coming back to California. But his biggest mistake was not subsidizing the businesses with infusions of cash so they wouldn't go out of business. And now, because the quarantine is being lifted, we have to go back and try to resurrect those businesses. I don't know if we can. And this was a major sin of Gavin Newsom, not subsidizing the businesses that were affected by COVID-19. And George W. Bush did that when he was president. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the next question. This is one of my favorites. So it's kind of a two-part. You have to say if you like the recall or are opposed to the recall. And then you have to say, how would you reach out to voters who fundamentally don't share your opinion on the recall if you were governor? So if you like the recall, you become governor. There's a huge chunk of Californians that didn't like the recall. How would you be fair to them? Let's say you oppose the recall and you come into office. There's 30-40% of voters who liked the recall. How would you be equal to them? So do you like the recall? Do you not like the recall? And what are you going to do as governor to make sure that you are seen as a fair leader to the people who completely disagree with you on this issue? We'll go in the same order. Fuji, you're up.
Yes, first and foremost, once again, I am in favor of the recall. Obviously, that's why I'm a candidate. But just as important is I would treat everybody equally. Because here's the thing, I'm independent. There's never been a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, or the Green Party. I never gave money to either of those parties. They have never given money to my campaign, ever, in the past, or in the current, or in the future, nor will I accept it. So I'm truly independent. I treat all voters, all residents, documented and undocumented, equally as fellow Californians. I have a proven track record of doing that, not only as a candidate, but also as an elected official. And more importantly, now more than ever, I see what's going on. In my city alone of Placentia, there was an investigation in 2017 of multi-million-dollar embezzlement. Now I'm seeing more waste and concerning expenditures. I bring it up. I don't stay quiet. I serve all residents, all taxpayers in California, regardless of race, gender preference, or religion, or voter political preference. So I have a proven track record of serving all constituents, regardless of their political inclinations for or against the recall. And I will make sure to do an honest and hard work to the best of my capability to serve all Californians. So I am in favor of the recall, and I'm thankful that we have so many candidates here. And see more candidates, visit www.candidate.contact.
Thank you. Next question goes to Dan. Are you for the recall, against it, and why would people who disagree with you think that you could be fair to them as governor?
All right. Well, as I've said many times, I am against this recall. I'm not against recalls in theory. I do think this is just a ploy for certain right-wing candidates or right-wing interests, special interests who see an opportunity. Well, they saw an opportunity because Mr. Newsom went to a French restaurant and was unpopular, and he's unpopular with how that things weren't open, and it was a bad time for him. Now he's gaining his popularity, and they just saw it as a way they could get elected, because there's no way they're going to get elected in California with a majority vote. This is a way they can get elected with a plurality vote, as Arnold Schwarzenegger did with less than 50%. So, but I am running as sort of a safety net against these right-wing interests that are running. So if I am governor, I would definitely represent all people. I've spoken before about my team. My team's very diverse views. I'm friends with people with all different views. All different walks of life. I deal with that every day in court. I deal with judges, attorneys, homeless people, people falsely accused of crimes. And I'm friends with many of these people. And I will make my team very diverse and will appeal to all Californians. I like all Californians. Just because I might not agree with them on some issues, I can definitely, I think, find a common ground with, nobody agrees with anything, but everybody. But I think I'm the candidate that actually is the most open-minded and willing to represent all Californians. That's it.
I got to be impartial. But I loved how you said all of us need to come together. That's a very California thing. Wade, let me unmute you. How would you? Do you support the recall? Do you not? And why would people who don't share your opinion fairly believe that you can represent them?
Right. Well, I support the recall. I think Gavin Newsom has done a terrible job, and I think he should be removed from office. Now, I must point out, according to Wikipedia, I'm one of 6 Democrats that are on the ballot for the selection for governor. The rest of the people are either Republicans or independent or Green Party, etc. As a Democrat, I'm totally liberal on domestic affairs. I completely support all liberal legislation that the Democratic establishment has put out there. I would continue to support all of Gavin Newsom's concepts, which he has faltered in his execution. And I will seek to keep most of the Gavin Newsom appointments on after I become governor. This is a promise that I make. I'm also, besides being liberal on domestic affairs, I'm ultra conservative on international affairs. I've supported our government and all of its foreign policy since Goldwater in 1964, and I will continue to support. So this should appeal to the Republicans, the fact that I'm support all conservative international ideas, but the Democrats I appeal to for the domestic issues. And I would be the governor of all Californians. I'm a businessman, but a businessman with a conscience. I fought against apartheid in South Africa and have an award from you, a foreign service officer, and I dedicated my academic career to stopping Islamic extremism by teaching in Islamic universities for 10 years.
Thank you. We're going to go to our last question, and then we'll be doing closing statements. This will be the last question, and then closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing statements. Here is the last question. Estimates are somewhere around $70 billion in economic surplus. People have said the governor's attempting to buy votes. Other people saying we've gone into a recession and the governor's just doing his job, trying to get us out of one of the worst recessions we've seen since 2008. Regardless of whether those opinions are true, how would you, as governor, suggest that we spend these billions of dollars in endless surplus money? First up will be Fuji.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. Well, how I would spend more than half of it, after careful consideration, I would spend more than half of it for water sustainability and conservation. We're in a drought. This is a very serious situation. I'm saying this right here and now, that more than half of that surplus money I would use to allocate for emergency use for the drought that we are now experiencing, and what I predict is going to be far, far worse in the coming months, be it wildfires, out of control wildfires for our farmers, and so many other issues that we need this money for water conservation. We need this money to help these farmers and businesses and households and counties stay afloat during this historic drought. And I predict it's only going to get worse. The remaining billions of dollars I would use for charter schools to give parents school choice. This would create smaller classrooms, so the smaller classrooms would be a better learning experience for the kids and a safer experience with a smaller class size. The best way to improve education, hands down, at least in high school, middle school, elementary, is smaller classroom, right there and then. And that's how I would spend it. Once again, more than half of it for the emergency, for the drought we are experiencing, to help the businesses and farmers, and the other for charter schools to expedite it, to make this classroom smaller. That's a top priority of my campaign, to make smaller class size. That's how I would spend it. Thank you.
Succinct. Question goes to Dan. How would you spend all these billions and billions and billions of dollars?
Well, I like to spend it on things that keep giving. So you make more money. So I would create jobs, create subsidized industries dealing with clean energy. And I think we need to be on the cutting edge of all that, clean energy that would create jobs, which would obviously go back to taxes and would create more surplus probably and also we need to address the housing issue with people living without homes. We got to really, it's an emergency now. I mean, everywhere you go, people are living without homes. We need to spend it on that. And then also my criminal justice reforms, we don't need to spend money on it. We need to reform it, not get people out of prisons. We're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars, incarcerating people who don't need to be incarcerated anymore. So we'd have even more of a surplus if we followed my plan. So I agree. And with drought, we need to invest in technologies that could help with droughts. Like, Wilhelm Reich had some cloud busting technology. Some people question it, but there might be something there. I know candidate Papagan wants to desalinate the ocean. I don't know if I'm for that, but I think we can invest it in cutting edge things to deal with drought. And again, that will create more jobs.
Okay. Professor Wade, your response, please.
Yes. Well, first of all, I, as a CPA and as a professor of accounting, I'd have to see the documentation that supports the budget surplus. I think it might be an accounting trick to state that we have a surplus, but be that may, as a CPA, I could probably create a deficit from the surplus. But let's say we do have the money. Okay, the money should be used primarily to house the homeless. We need a massive effort to help homeless. The money should be used to prepare for the fires that would be coming. This was the worst year for forest fires, and Gavin Newsom lied and said that he was better prepared. He has prepared the forest with preventative maintenance to reduce the possibility of fires. He lied about how much he prepared. We should do a massive effort to reduce the possibility of forest fires. We also have a water problem. I was in Saudi Arabia where they overproduced distillation and desalinization units on the eastern coast of Saudi Arabia. They actually had a surplus of water by the time that they finished. That technology is not rocket science. It's easy to produce distillation units and desalinization. The money could be used for that. We have the Pacific Ocean right next to us, and basically the surplus should be used for these major problems, and whether or not there's a surplus or not, as I said in my book, if you follow, yes, we do have the money. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes our questions. We're now going to go to closing statements. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes. We'll follow the same format from the random list organized. First up will be Fuji. Your closing statement for 2 minutes.
Hello, everybody. This is my closing statement. And first and foremost, I want to thank Marcus of the organization Yes California for hosting this. That so many other organizations have refused willfully, intentionally, not to air. And Gavin Newsom, Jeff Hewitt, like you, we are elected officials. I invite you to come and have a vigorous civil debate on the important issues of our time here on Yes California. And also, more than ever, I'm privileged to be here in the debate with fellow Californians like Dan and Wade and so many others. As governor, I will double our hotshot crews. As governor, I will call up our National Guard to prepare for the fire season that's right around the corner. And I would also improve our educational system by streamlining the charter school process. Just as important, I will reach out with our members of Congress, the most of any state, to have federal legislation that benefits the state of California economically, politically, and in so many other ways. Now is the time to think outside of the box. I'm the person to do that. I'm also your pro-life candidate. I believe in the sanctity of life. I encourage you, visit my website, www.governor.life. Call or text our campaign at 805-NOW-VOTE. Fuji. F-U-J-I, family, unity, justice, integrity.
Thank you. Next up will be Dan.
All right. I too want to thank everyone. Thank Marcus. He's working effortlessly on all this. Is that the word? No, working with much effort on with these campaigns every week. They are the only people doing it. I don't agree with their message or with Lewis, but it's good to debate the issues. I don't think even Marcus agrees with everything Lewis said last week. There are some crazy things about the January 6th, but we'll get into that later. But I think I am the guy who's going to make California. It's already great, but it's going to be so great. You're going to be the best time ever. We're going to use the money wisely. We're going to create jobs. We're going to put an end to homelessness, or at least try, or way better than what's going on now. We got to reform criminal justice. We got to help animals end factory farming. I am pro-choice. Unlike almost so many of the recall candidates are pro-life. I think that's up to someone's individual choice. I don't want the government telling us what we should do with our bodies. And I think the majority of Californians agree with me. Obviously, not all of them do. And I just think I've got the plan. I got the ideas. I'm the guy. I got the team already. I'm building it as we speak, but I'm the only one that's even talking about having a team, at least I know of. And we're going to go in. We only got a year. The next election is going to be November. Hopefully we'll win that too. But we got to get a lot done immediately, and I'm raring to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up will be Wade, your closing statement. Wade?
Yes. Well, I want to reiterate the fact that I'm a CPA. I have a doctorate in business administration from Golden Gate University, and I'm a native Californian born in San Francisco. I have 40 years of running large businesses, mostly overseas, and I have 10 years of teaching accounting on universities overseas. And basically, I've gotten awards from South Africa, the USAID for ending apartheid in South Africa, and also I wish to influence South Africa in the future because they have to do land distribution to Africans from the European background people. As governor, I would seek to felicitate this last aspect of reform in South Africa. Now, other items I would like to do, I want there to be a mandatory free arbitration courts for like the small claims court for civil and labor disputes for free, so don't have to spend for lawyers. And also I want legislation to give us more child care credits, below the line deduction, meaning if you don't have the revenue that to put the credit against, you'll get a refund. There should be below the line tax credits for child care. This would be the way to end abortion. Most people have abortions because they can't afford children. And also, casualty and theft losses should be below the line deduction whenever there's an earthquake or a flood in California. The government, this includes the franchise tax as well as the IRS, they should be given below the line deductions for the casualty and theft losses so people can be made whole by the government. So I want these reforms as well as the earlier ones that I spoke of, the massive homeless problem, the water problem, and the preventing forest fires.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our debate panel. Fuji and Lewis, if you both would stay, I would ask Dan and Wade to please leave the stream. Thank you both for being here. Hope to see you in a week, Sunday. I'm going to try to set up a special one-on-one debate between Lewis and Fuji. Lewis Wong, are you there?
I am.
Would you be able to turn on your camera?
In about a few minutes, maybe. I'm still getting set up here.
Sure. Are you up, Lewis? Are you up for a one-on-one debate with Fuji? We can do that right now.
Let's do it.
Okay. Give me a second to come up with the title bar.
How has the Sunday been for both of you gentlemen?
Yeah, we'll get started in a few minutes. We finished our recall candidates debate. We're going to start a separate one. Give me 1 second. I'm going to do a commercial break. We'll come back, and then we'll be warming up for the one-on-one debate. Give me 1 second, Lewis. I'll be right back.
It's the California Recall Debate, hosted by Yes California.
And we're back. We're going to start in a few minutes here with a one-on-one debate between Fuji Shura and Lewis Wong. Both are registered candidates. Both have participated in the Yes California Recall Candidates debate series. where everybody has the ability to ask any other candidate to a special one-on-one debate on any topic they would like. As I understand, please correct me if I'm getting this wrong, candidate Fuji Shiora requested a debate one-on-one with Louis Wong on the topic of China and its relationship with California. If I'm getting that wrong, please correct me. So our candidates today are Fuji Shiora and Louis Wong. As we always do, well, first, let me start. Are both candidates ready? We can take a few more minutes if you'd like to get composed. Okay. By the way, not to show favoritism, love that shirt, Louis. I'll leave it there. No favoritism.
Golden State.
I'm a Californian. I'm a Californian, so no favoritism, just...
I got my Lakers jersey, my Sacramento jersey.
Yes, and candidate Fuji, that is a beautiful color of blue that you're wearing. So a little bit of compliments for everybody. What we like to do typically is introductory statements. So 2 minutes for you to introduce yourself. You could introduce yourself as a general candidate while you're running in general, or you can go ahead and seed the conversation in this debate with perhaps pre-opinions you have on the topic of China and California. I'm just going to pick randomly, Louis, because Fuji was here in the debate before. Fuji, I'm going to pick Louis to go before you. I hope that's seen as acceptable, trying to be fair. So we're going to go Louis, then Fuji, Louis, then Fuji. That'll be the order of the questions. 2-minute opening statement to candidate Wong, starting now.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Fuji, love you, brother. This is not a debate. This is a conversation. And I am very interested in what you have to say. And I am by no means an expert on any topic. I am in this gubernatorial campaign, first and foremost, because I feel like there's a lot of common sense solutions that are not being talked about. So here are my common sense solutions. And yes, they are based on my experience as being a Bernie voter and supporter. I call myself a socialist, but here's my common sense solutions that get 80 or 90% approval ratings. Let's raise the minimum wage. Let's lower taxes for small business owners. Let's lower taxes for small businesses employing under 50 or under 20. You can play around with the numbers. Let's lower that for their taxes. Let's have a sales tax moratorium on all small businesses. So if you are a small business owner with a revenue of less than $2 million annual revenue, let's lower your income taxes for your particular business. Let's pay for that by increasing commercial property taxes just a little bit more. For anyone who owns, $100 billion, land or development or, high-rise building, these are the giant commercial property owners. Let's say, someone who owns a mall. I know, Fuji, you're in San Diego. There's a lot of beautiful malls. Whoever owns those malls, let's tax them a little bit more. 1% tax is not enough. Let's revise Prop 13, and let's have the richest pay just a little bit more. Let's have billionaires pay a little bit more in income taxes because they're paying zero right now, as I've mentioned in the previous debate. And yeah, there's other solutions on the topic, particularly Chinese wealthy owners, billionaires of China are coming to California and snapping up properties. I am not against a free market system, but foreigners, especially Chinese foreigners, let's tax them a little bit more. They're taking away too many properties. Let's make it a little bit more equitable for all Californians. So I don't know. I haven't been timing myself, but I'll call it that for now. That's my 2 minutes. Thank you.
We're going to go to 3 minutes opening statement to Fuji Shiora. Just to be fair to both sides, Fuji Shiora. I'm sorry. Let me unmute you. Sorry, you are
Thank you,
unmuted.
Louis. Yes, Marcus. Thank you. And once again, Louis, I'm so glad to be here. I just want to say, yes, California. As far as I know, this is the first gubernatorial debate between two Asians running for the executive office of the highest state. Yes, California is again making journalistic history. And I am thankful, that we are offering this information to the voters, regardless, independent, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, or Green Party. Voters need to know about all the candidates. And we are together making history by saying yes to the ideals of California: inclusion, inclusiveness, tolerance, and embracing diversity. As two Asian candidates running for California governor, we have a unique perspective on our relationship with China and California as it pertains in economics, education, trade, commerce, and even in biotech, in so many other ways. So, Marcus, thank you for Yes California hosting the first ever, as far as I know, gubernatorial debate between two Asian candidates. Thank you. I am so proud, and I'm thankful on behalf of the Asian community. Thank you again. From Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Indian, and so many others that I didn't mention. We are so grateful to Yes California hosting this. And let this be just one example of many more debates to come. And Louis, you are right. This is not so much a debate, a conversation, because together we have a lot to learn from each other. Together, we will find solutions that unfortunately career politicians refuse to answer. And I want to make this as a little more statement because I have another minute left. Is that a time running out? That's time running out for the incumbents, for career politicians. And it's people like you, Louis, that are making the change, that are representing so many people in California. And now is the time. Gavin Newsom, Jeff Hewitt, you are elected officials. Like myself, I openly challenge you to challenge me and Louis to a vigorous and civil debate. Now is the time to get on board with democracy. Do what's right. Say yes to democracy and yes to California ideals. Thank you, Marcus.
That was awesome. We're going to go with some hard questions first, and then we'll come into some more general ones. So the first hard question, I didn't have time to make the title bars, but these questions are done by accurate research. When Governor Schwarzenegger was governor, China was growing very large. And as part of their economic plan, China invented an Asian infrastructure bank. And they asked everybody to join their bank, where they would give low-interest loans to countries to build infrastructure. Governor Schwarzenegger approached the Chinese government about California taking out a loan to pay for the high-speed rail. Californians rejected that and said taking out a loan from the Chinese government would be a way for the Chinese government to control California. Now, the interesting thing is the high-speed rail project has effectively been shut down. They ran out of money. The Chinese government offered to give a low interest rate for the entire fund and offered to build it. China has 13 to 20 high-speed rail systems already operational. Was it a good idea to turn down a loan and help from China, knowing we probably could have built the entire high-speed rail for close to very little money? Or was it the right call to say California should have nothing to do with being financially in bed with the Chinese government? What was the right call? Not having infrastructure built, wasting lots of money, not taking a giant loan, but being secure that we're not financially tied to China? Or should we have done what Governor Schwarzenegger suggested? Candidate Wong.
Yeah. First, a quick comment. Fuji, my brother, I guess this is historic, right? Two Asian brothers, first ever Asian American based gubernatorial debate. And I like to point out, by default, we are also the two smartest Asian gubernatorial candidates and the best looking. So getting to Marcus's question posed to us, the devil is always in the details. There is unless they did something that is uncommon for governments, state government, which is releasing all the contract terms, all the loan terms that have been reviewed and dissected by literally hundreds and hundreds of lawyers and accountants and all that stuff. Here's where I come out of it. Does it benefit Californians? And when you're talking about a infrastructure plan that is, something that I do support, which is, high-speed rail. Again, hypothetically, theoretically, I support it because Californians will be using it. There are a lot of Californians that I personally know that don't like airplanes. They do not fly. They are deathly afraid of it. John Madden, for example, right, Hall of Fame head coach of the Oakland Raiders, is famous for having a phobia of flying. So there's a lot of missed opportunities in terms of economic growth when Californians cannot travel just from NorCal to SoCal. So again, yes, it's money being tied in from Chinese government, and I have more to speak on that topic. But at the end of the day, it's not if I were to have the opportunity to be in a position of, working in state government, I will not look at it from a ego point of view, like, oh, it's the Chinese, oh, it's Chinese banks having influence. No, at the end of the day, we're gonna go at it with just analytics, and we're gonna look at it like, hey, how many million Californians will be using the high-speed rail? How many Californians will be benefiting from it? And we have to make rational decisions, not based on anti-Chinese sentiments.
Candidate Shior.
Great point, Louis, I have to say. And to elaborate more on that, what my fellow candidate said, I would be in favor of inviting the organizations in China to help build a high-speed rail in the state of California for several reasons. One, it could help expedite the construction. Number two, it would be international oversight, because it wouldn't just be our U.S. federal government. It would also be a foreign government having oversight. I am always for oversight. Matter of fact, at a side note, our California election law, to the best of my knowledge, allows for international observers of our election, which I have invited, by the way. So it's always good to have a separate set of eyes to see what's going on with billions of dollars. We spent billions of dollars on a high-speed rail that goes where? We don't know. It hasn't been constructed, partially here and there. So it's always been squandered. Would it have been more successful if we went with China? I believe so. I believe that it's in China's economic self-interest to have a booming economy in California to purchase the goods and services from China. So I do believe in a vigorous, successful, prosperous bilateral relationship with China. And this would have been one way to do it. So aside from the high-speed rail, absolutely. And one of my proposals, by the way, is a joint cryptocurrency between China and California called Panda Bear. It is a new idea, and I believe it has a lot of potential based on the number of users in California, China, and Latin America. Now, here's what's really essential. We need high-speed rail. There's a drought already here, and it's only going to get worse. So public transportation is a top priority for my campaign. And so we have to reduce automobiles on the road as soon as possible. And if it means getting high-speed rail and working with our family and friends here in California that have family and friends in China, absolutely. Because, hey, maybe California, hey, in China, we could do things better together. What's not good is any kind of trade war or also any kind of physical war. We are at a crossroads where we need to start working closer together. And one way to do that is build bridges by building trains. And China, you're invited to California. Let's build together. Let's get the job done for all California residents. Thank you.
This next question continues on a theme. We'll get to some more easy, open-ended questions, but right now I want to get down to the specifics that most Californian voters are concerned about. Yao Ming was a Chinese basketball player. He came over here, joined the NBA, and did very well. Yao then went back to China and sold wine. His title for the wine bottles, California. Why? Because he said Chinese people know California so well, all I have to do is put the word California on it and they'll buy it. Yao Ming's Chinese wine company is now one of the most profitable businesses in China. During the presidency of Obama, Xi Jinping, the recently appointed leader of China, chose California as the first place between the Chinese leader and the American president here in Southern California. The reason Xi Jinping picked that was because there were so many Chinese people in California spending money, going on travel, vacations, investing in our economy, buying homes, and placing their children in colleges. He knew that China was economically gigantically linked to California. Recently, though, Donald Trump was a president of America and got into a horrible trade war with China. California was the most punished economy in all of America due to that trade war, because we're more internationally linked than any other place in America. Joe Biden, while saying he's nothing like Trump, has continued the trade war with China unabated. Basically a continuation of the policy exactly like Donald Trump did it. When Donald Trump started a trade war with China, Californians hated it. Now that Biden is continuing the policy, we hear almost nothing. Is a trade war with China good for California, given how much our economy is linked to them? Or is it perhaps a bad thing? Should we be less connected to the Chinese economy, as many Americans worry about? Or should we go ahead and stay connected with them because it directly benefits our economy? Which one is the right direction? Candidate Wong. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been a big fan. I've been a big fan of Yao Ming for 10 plus years. I think Yao personally has been a amazing ambassador for connecting the two countries of the United States and China. When there's always talks of trade war, here's what I want to caution everyone who's listening right now. Who are fighting the trade wars? Now, are we talking about me and Fuji and Marcus fighting in the trade war? I say no. I say when we are talking about a trade war, we have to keep in mind 99% of us are not participants in the trade war. The people who have the vested interest in a trade war are the people who own multinational corporations, or they're at the top, they're the CEOs, CFOs of, a $200 billion corporation, either in US or in China. So, and they have direct connections to the respective governments. They're trying to lobby and influence their respective governments, right? Elon Musk comes to mind. Elon Musk is a fantastic entrepreneur, and he's doing some crazy, amazing things. If you look at the Tesla and SpaceX, but he doesn't participate in trade wars because he needs China, and he needs the Chinese market just as much as he needs the U.S. market and the European market, and everyone everywhere can buy Tesla cars, right? So I actually will take the Elon Musk model of trying to be friendly, right, in terms of business. They're trying to be friendly in order to open up more markets for the free exchange of capital goods. And I think when you kind of take that route, yes, Joe Biden could be protectionist, CCP, Xi Jinping, they can be protectionist of their Chinese government, Chinese businesses or corporations, or you widen with U.S. corporations, but it's been well proven in economic theory, right? And that's where my background in Bachelor of Science from UCSD in macroeconomics, it's proven that, hey, when you don't fight these trade wars, it tend to be mutually beneficial. You have a free exchange of goods, and it helps lift all boats instead of being protectionist and restrict your goods. So that's a long way of trying to approach a very complex topic that a lot more smarter people with 8 PhDs are trying to have a handle on. So I'll just cut my answer short to this point, and I'd like to hear Fuji's take on this.
Mm-hmm. Going back to what I said before, Louis, I agree. Trade wars with China will be harmful to the local, state, and national economy of America. To make the long story short, economically speaking, in the 1980s, America was married to Japan. In the 1990s, America economically got divorced and remarried China. It's like it or not, we are economically married. Good or bad, different opinion. Is the marriage happy or sad? It doesn't matter. Math is simple. Economically speaking, America and China are economically married. It's that simple. Now, how to make the marriage work is going to take, like any marriage, a lot of work, a lot of discussion, and a lot of disagreements. But we can do so much together on environment, education, public transportation like the high-speed rail, and yes, in so many other ways. There's going to be continued differences. Now is the time to really start working together here on the ground or there up in the moon, literally in space exploration. Now is the time to remember that we are one planet. And yes, California, we're different than the rest of the United States. We need to set the example for the country, for the Western Hemisphere, and for the world. Now is the time to be proud is that California, our greatest asset is our diversity, Latino, Asian, Black, white, and so many other things in between. Now is the time to think outside of the box. We're living in a much smaller, interconnected, interdependent world. So as we all know that we are more interconnected, this also works both ways. We are interdependent on each other. So we're only going to get this through dialogue and working with negotiations, and trade and commerce for California is the future. And I am excited to really start working on a proposal with China to get the high-speed rail based on a Panda Bear joint cryptocurrency with China and California. Thank you.
It sounds like both candidates are saying that a trade war with China is not beneficial for our economy here in California.
Woo-how! Yes, it's bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the follow-up question is this. The previous president, who was a hardcore conservative and said he wasn't progressive, started a trade war with China. The current Democratic president, who's supposed to be the decent version and nothing like him, kept the trade war with China. That makes it look like America likes trade wars with China regardless of who's elected or whatever party's in charge. If you were governor of California, knowing that our economy is being hurt with these trade wars, and that it doesn't seem to matter who's president, they seem to be okay with these things, what would you do to resuscitate the California economy and get America to stop disastrous trade wars? Candidate Wong.
So let me be very clear on one topic. So the high-speed rail, why do I tend to favor it? Well, keep in mind, I was a project engineer here in Los Angeles with the LA Metro. I was part of the Neo Electric, right? Shouting out to my former employer. And we operated under the general contractor on a $3.2 billion expansion of 9 Green Line Metro expansions. Unfortunately, this being LA Metro, cost overruns, and we're like 15 months over the scheduling, and it's a little bit of a cluster F, unfortunately. But hey, that's construction. We have permits, and we gotta watch out for OSHA, and we gotta make sure people don't die on the projects. And if it's 98 degrees, we probably want people to hydrate and not work as hard, because we want to make sure people are alive and well. High-speed rail has already provided a lot of high-paying, good-paying jobs at prevailing wages, generally with union workers. Can we go cheap and cut our costs in half by hiring, temp workers or, undocumented workers or anything like that? Well, federal law says no, but, theoretically and hypothetically, we could, if we just rewrote all the rules.
I'm sorry. Let me redirect. The question is, given that the federal government across two different presidencies who have nothing to do with each other are continuing trade wars with China, what would you do to get the trade wars to end as governor?
So Marcus, it's related because I want people to remember who, does it, at the end of the day, does a trade war help Californians? So my point being the high-speed rail, it helps Californians because that's high-paying, good-paying jobs for blue-collar workers, mostly in Central Valley, where jobs are a little bit of a premium, right? So when you have a trade war, what does that mean? Well, right now, Elon Musk has a facility in Bay Area, I think closer to you, Marcus, where he employs a lot of people. And I interviewed for them, and they were going to pay me a six-figure job to help build out a facility, right? As a construction manager, as an electrical engineer, six-figure job is it probably would cover my mortgages, but it doesn't leave much for everything else with the high cost of everything. But when you have investments from overseas, well, at the end of the day, you look at it, you're like, hey, does a trade war help? Well, if it doesn't help, let's end the trade wars, and maybe there's a Japanese company or a Chinese company that wants to have manufacturing jobs here in California. Right, it doesn't happen as much anymore. Not like maybe the 70s or 80s or 90s where we have manufacturing in California. But we can go back to those days if you have the right leadership at the top. And it's not just me saying that. It's not just Fuji saying that. It has to be, supported by Californians, right? Voters, supporters. And I don't have the right answers, but if you ask me, any potential supporters of mine, anyone who wants to vote for me in the gubernatorial campaign, I will answer very simply and plainly. I will help California, and I will help Californians, and that's my promise. I will do my best to do that, and I will analyze these trade agreements, and I will scrutinize to the best of my abilities in order to make that happen.
Okay, candidate Shiora, the question is to you.
Great question. Great answers from Lewis, as always. One way to do that is to end the trade war is have a joint cryptocurrency called the Panda Bear. It would be us and China. I think a joint cryptocurrency could, side by side, the US dollar is a very viable, realistic, and expeditious way to end the trade war. Also, what we need to do is start to work closer. Eventually, the Arctic is melting faster than many people have assumed or predicted. And so now is the time to make sure we don't have confrontation in the Arctic, which is going to be a major trade route and vast mining resources, which I'm not in favor for. I want to protect the environment. China and California could work together to protect the environment on our waters and their waters and up there in the Arctic. We could work together with our aerospace industry for the good of mankind, not just for our countries and our state, California, but for so much. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is real. It's happening at a very fast rate. And we have to really start thinking outside of the box. So, once again, the fastest way to end the trade war is through a joint cryptocurrency I propose called the Panda Bear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me know how to invest.
Governor Brown was at a meeting a few years ago with the government of China. He was having a special talk on climate change where he would sign a memorandum of understanding with the Chinese government. The federal government was not involved in those discussions and not asked to participate. California has been going around to many different countries and signing trade deals and climate change treaties. They're just called memorandums of understanding. But if you hold up a memorandum of understanding and an official treaty, they're almost identical, except in name. Essentially, California is signing treaties, one of which was a treaty on climate change with the Chinese government. The previous governor, Brown, at that meeting with Chinese government officials, signing a memorandum of understanding, essentially a separate treaty independent of the federal government, said, quotes, "It's a little bold to say this, but when it comes to climate change, China should consider California a separate country from America." Was the governor wrong to say that, to carve out a distinct space independent from the federal government when relating to China? Or should California's interests always perfectly align with however the federal government feels about the Chinese government? This was a radical departure from what the federal government was saying. And our governor said, we do our own thing, we don't care what the federal government does, and consider us essentially a distinct country from America. Is that the right thing for a California governor to do? Or is that the wrong thing? Candidate Wong.
That's very, very good question. And I like to know, obviously I will hear Fuji's take on it, and I'm gonna toss back to another candidate that I'd like to hear Louis Marinelli, which I'm sure he probably answered in one way or another. I'd love to get his take on it if we were to have a one-on-one with Mr. Marinelli.
My schedule for July 10th.
Exactly. So thank you for that plug. my selfish. So I believe if climate change, which is what Governor Brown was focused on, if climate change is a existential threat to the way of life that we currently have, if you believe that, right, hypothetical voter of California that's listening to this right now, then I say, yeah, okay, well, it makes sense, because us being California, if we take it as our own entity and as our own economy, we usually fluctuate between the 5th largest economy in the world and the 6th largest economy in the world, and I think that barely beats out Japan. So if you can envision all the Toyotas and all the Sonys that are being sold, that's how much power we have as 40 million hardworking folks here in California. We have tremendous power. So what do you do with all that power? Well, I do believe in climate change, and I do believe it is hurting us, because I've already seen it. Florida is flooding, and Texas is flooding, and the drought is hurting so many farmers, and the water is such a vital resource to California and our way of life. So is that the best way? I don't know, but it's one way, and it's one solution that in order to tackle such a problem like climate change. Again, if there is something that I can do as governor that helps all Californians, then I will try my best to legally, follow the legal framework and try to do that. But I'd rather work with the federal government. I'd rather work with, 330 million Americans. I'd rather work with all the nations in the world. But the governor is just one position in a government of literally tens of thousands. So I don't really believe in top-down hierarchy. I really truly believe in people-powered grassroots activism. So if there's millions of Californians that believe in what I believe in, then that's where we have real change. And right now, clearly, when you have a recall election like this, there's California's voter in particular are pissed off, and they don't see things in the right direction, and there's so many things wrong, and it cuts political lines. It doesn't matter what party affiliation you are, doesn't matter who you supported in the past. We feel it here in California, It's not headed in the right direction, but we can move in the right direction. We just have to break down the establishment, and we have to break down the rules, and we have to move forward. So I'll cut it there for now. Thank you.
Let me add a clarification, and then I'd like a response from candidate Wong, and then we will go to Fuji Shiora, and you'll answer the whole question if you're willing. So when
Yes.
Governor Brown did this, it was in 2015. Barack Obama was the president. And what Governor Brown was finding out was that the federal government was never going to pass a law on climate change. That's why Obama went to the Paris Climate Accord and signed an executive action. He never even attempted to go to Congress to get it approved because he knew it wouldn't happen. Governor Brown saw that and saw that the federal government was not going to do anything on climate change, and then chose to tell the Chinese government, when it comes to climate change, consider us in California a separate country. Candidate Wong, are you saying, it sounds like you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that if there's no hope at the federal government enacting this thing, that it is okay for California to essentially act like a nation and go it alone? Or am I getting that wrong? Candidate Wong.
And that is a tough question where I just don't have enough of the, there's no way for a layperson like me to be able to dive deeply into, usually it's a 100-page document. When you're talking about trade agreements, you're talking about 1,000-page documents. From a high level, I have no issue if I were in Governor Brown's position and I know the federal inaction on climate change. Let's flip it around. If, let's say, there's 100 million people who are dying of a disease, right? And the federal government is not helping 100 million people, I will do everything I can to help save lives and help those 100 million people. That's just an extreme analogy on climate change. Now, is climate change going to kill 100 million people? No, this is a hypothetical, mind exercise. But if it came to that extreme of a situation, I will do everything in my power to find solutions. And, if I have to break the rules, if I have to get in trouble with the federal government, I think it is worth it if it means we can have that solution that helps millions and millions and millions. So I know it's kind of like a slight dodge of a question, of a very difficult question, but that's where I'm coming at it now that you asked this question. Thank you, Marcus.
Fuji, if the federal government can't do anything, as Governor Brown concluded in 2015, and said, I have to move on this existential crisis, and then told a foreign government to consider California a separate nation, was he wrong to do that? Or is that a move that you would emulate as governor?
I would definitely 100% emulate it and do what is best for the citizens of California. Residents and animal environment. No, I was recently asked that what would I do with the surplus money? And I said I would spend more than half of it on, water conservation, because we're in a drought. We're in a very serious situation, and the inaction of our federal government is very dangerous. So I do believe that climate change is real, and that I would make more treaties with other countries, not just China, to make sure that the environment is being protected. Because right now we have to concern ourselves with the Arctic nations up in the Arctic, because we do major trade routes, okay? Long Beach and so many other ports, we do a lot of trading. So we have to look at that also. So as governor, I do have plans to work out an environmental trade agreement with the Arctic nations, Russia, Canada, Norway, and Finland, and so many others that get involved up there, even Iceland, all the nations. Even now, China is calling itself a near Arctic nation because they see the importance of the melting of the Arctic. So it is now more important than ever to get involved and not get bogged down in bureaucracy that's happening in Washington, D.C., unfortunately, and in some state capitals. So yes, I would definitely make a sovereign, independent, binding treaty with other nations as governor, aside from the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. In the 1950s, America shocked the entire planet and all economists by creating one of the most robust growing business environments ever. They built massive amounts of infrastructure, roads, airports, rail stations. It was called the Great Time in America, or the American Heyday, roughly a period from 1945 to 1965. The country saw massive jumps in jobs, quality of life, and it was all because of the Eisenhower plan to build infrastructure, connecting every city across America. Recently, China has announced a similar plan for this next century, what they call the Belt and Road Initiative, where they're building roads, ports, airports, and infrastructure, connecting cities throughout Asia and Central Asia to a degree never before seen. Economists are now predicting that Central Asia and Asia, economies and countries largely cut off from the world economy to a large degree, will be integrated to a degree much like the 1950s heyday in America. A huge economic boom is projected to come to every country and every region who officially announces they want to become a port for the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Critics argue that this is a plan for China to control all of these economies and usurp their government. We're not really going to know until it all plays out 20 to 30 years from now. The question to you as governor is, would you agree that California become a part of this Chinese Belt Road Initiative plan? Candidate Wang.
I believe it's inevitable. This is where if a country, let's say hypothetically, let's say, I'm trying to think of a good, let's say Brazil. Let's say Brazil has a GDP of, something like $5 trillion or what have you. They're close. I think they're at 1 trillion, give or take. If Brazil wants to exert its economic influence, they can do it, and they will do it, because they are the people who put some, shocking, right? People who live in that country usually have some influence over the government, or the government wants to do well for the people. Even a country ruled by CCP, or even a country ruled by what have you, and you can talk about the right to vote and the democracy in any particular country, China in particular. It's really inevitable because they can do it. They will do it, and they have the billions and the billions and the billions to do it. And they will skirt laws. They will wield tremendous influence just because they can. What we have to analyze from our point of view, and as being good stewards of California, as being good Americans, is how does that make sense for us? Does that protect my family, my personal family's interests? Does it protect everyone's interests that are listening to us right now? And we really need the best people in elected office. We need the best people to make those unbiased, critical assessments and make those decisions. We can't have people who are of a particular influence and they don't care about the will of Californians. Like I said, a lot of people are looking at Governor Newsom and saying, hey, Newsom, Gavin, you don't care and you don't represent the interests of Californians. Here's the election. We have the vote to make that happen, and we don't even need a lot of votes. We probably just need 10 million votes, and we'll find someone to do a better job. But we should be doing that in every city, in every state, in every assembly district. We should have the best people to represent me and Fuji and Marcus.
Candidate Shura.
It is inevitable in some degree in economic, and I do agree with my fellow candidate Luis that I would like to have a Belt Road Initiative as long as it's equitable. That we could be partners, co-sponsors. And that would be really great. So I would allow it and endorse it as long as we're on equal economic footing. And it's a partnership. Absolutely. We live in an international economy. It's just a given. That's a fact. That's not political opinion. That's the reality we live in. We are interconnected and interdependent in so many ways. So, while some call it a Belt and Road Initiative, it's already happening in Latin America. And now is the time to start working together as a global community. Because right now, in certain parts of Latin America, I've been told the Chinese language is getting more popular than English. Why is that? Because they simply go there and help out with infrastructure and trying to build a train from somewhere to nowhere and nothing gets done. Okay, not to the hardworking people like Louis, like project managers and people on the ground. It's the bureaucracy, the elected officials that make it so ineffective. And now is the time to think outside of the box. So yes, I think the Belt and Road Initiative / funded by Panda Bear, the California Bear, and the China Bear Panda, I think would be a great way to go.
Okay, we're going to go to 30 seconds for candidate one.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Fuji, love your answers, insightful as always. Again, what are we talking about here? A infrastructure bill or infrastructure development. I mean, what is that? That's it has to be built by people wherever you have that infrastructure project, right? High-speed rail, it has to be built by someone that is along the railway, right? you could bring in foreign labor, but no one does that, right? This isn't like my people who built the railroad, right? The Chinese who built the railroad, and they came from the poorest areas in China, and they traveled 3,000 miles so that they're in the middle of Sacramento building the old railroads of the 19th century. No, it has to be built by Californians, and we have to follow all the rules and all that law. And guess what? It's high-paying jobs, right? So am I going to say no to high-paying $30, $40, $50 jobs to highly trained union electricians and bricklayers and technical experts who know how to build high-speed rails? No, I can't say no to all that jobs and all that infrastructure building. So again, that's my 30 seconds. Thank you.
And I just want to say something real quick. I have a little challenge for Luis to think about. Don't answer today, but another debate or conversation I would like you to think about. If we're building a high-speed rail from San Francisco to LA, why can't we think about San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Tijuana, and all the way down to La Paz, California, and Baja Sur, California, all the way down? So I just want you to think about it. Don't answer now, but I feel that if the security stabilizes in Baja California, not only would it reduces immigration, challenge immigration for Border Patrol, but also create affordable housing in Mexico. But there has to be a fast, cheap, efficient public transportation from Southern California to Baja California. So I would say San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Tijuana to La Paz. Just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
And if the Chinese want to invest in pay for it, then hey, I'm not going to say no to their billions.
It creates jobs, and hey, let's do it. Let's get it done. People want solutions. They don't want us to argue. Let's get it done.
Get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the last question, and then we'll go to closing statements. Two last questions. Here's the first one. In January 29th, 2010, James Wolfensohn, the former president of the World Bank, addressed the Stanford Graduate School of Business students with details about his work at the World Bank. What he said was that the world's changing. Asia will account for 2/3 of all global wealth by the year 2030 to 2040. America will be somewhere around 25% of the wealth along with the West. For the last 200 years, roughly about 70 to 80% of all wealth was in the West. Now it's going to be shrunk down to only 25% of global wealth, whereas Asia, that used to only have about 10% of global wealth, will now have 65%. The World Bank president explained this to a group of Stanford University students, saying, "The age of the West calling the shots and being the big player are over." According to every global economist, the economies of India, China, and Southeast Asia, Thailand, Indonesia, will rise and account for 2/3 of all global wealth, reducing the Western world to a fraction of the power that it's known over the last 2 centuries. All of the Stanford students looked at him with blank stares. He literally had to plead with them to ask questions because he felt that these graduate business students from one of the best universities in the world weren't grasping the implications that the era of power for the Western world was coming to an end, nothing could be done about it, and Asia would now be the new person calling the shots for the next century. What would you say, as an Asian person, to other people who do not get the reality that the economic and financial power the entire Western order has known is coming to an end in 2 decades, and the power structure they've known for 2 centuries is going to stop, and the new power center will be in Asia? Given that Stanford business students couldn't even grasp the concept, how would you explain this to average Californians so they get the reality of how important linking to the Chinese economy is as a matter of sheer survival for jobs? Candidate Wang.
Well, first, I like to just say, as a product of University of California system, as a product of UCSD, this is not the first time that a UC student understands a little bit more than a Stanford student. So, having said that, maybe they should have attended public education, but for a fraction of the cost. But I digress. All you have to do is look back in history, and modern history, just in the last 100 years, right? Prior to World War I, and then definitely prior to World War II, the kingmakers of the world were all Europeans. They were, the kings and the rulers, the Ottoman Empire, and if you really study history, the kingmakers of the world were Europeans. World War I happened, it changed dynamics a little bit, and then World War II really drastically changed things, where the kingmakers of the world became the Cold War, which is you got the Soviet Union, and then you got the good old US of A. Going back even further in history, you got the Dutch who ruled the world, and they sailed the seas, and you had the Spanish, and you had all that. The world changes. It's not going to stay stagnant. It's not going to be a static situation. And try as we might as the American conglomerate and the number one GDP in the world, things will change, and the world continues to move forward. And people who don't see that or don't recognize that, well, you will see very shortly. You will see in the next 15, 20, things are constantly changing. And, right now we're talking about China, but 20 years now, we might be talking about another country and about other nations and other economic theories. I say, if we want to be educated and we want to be prepared for it, we can't just close ourselves off and ignore the rest of the world. We individually have to educate ourselves and to pay attention to all the things that are going on in the world. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Marcus, for the question.
Candidate Shira.
Yes, I understand it fully. I am Japanese American, and so I do understand it. I understand it for many years. And this is why I specifically am proposing a Panda Bear cryptocurrency with California and China. It's time to have a robust partnership in our economic trade and commerce. And, it's a matter of time. It's going to happen even quicker with the advent of technologies. AI, robotics, i.e., automation. And what's really important is now we have to have a more serious discussion on this relationship between China and California. It is essential. It should be a weekly debate on this topic alone by all the candidates, myself, Lewis, Gavin, and so many others, because it is so important. And it's been avoided because a lot of elected officials, they know what's coming. They know it. But politically, they don't want to talk about it because they want more votes. They know there's going to be some very difficult discussions that will require difficult choices, such as outside funding for a high-speed rail. So now is the time to say, yes, I do understand that fully. And as Asian Americans, we have a valuable perspective on what's going on. And for goodness sake, are we in the 21st century? Can't we have Asian Americans represent us as ambassadors in China? I mean, seriously, can you name one Chinese ambassador to China, Chinese American? I think there's more than one Chinese American in California, if not in the country. Same thing in Japan. We have one Japanese American that could represent us in Japan. I mean, it goes on and on. Right now we have Garcetti, I think, appointed as ambassador to India, who is a highly intelligent politician in his own right. But are we saying we don't have enough Indian Americans that could do a great job? I find that insulting. That's not the California way. If California was a country, just saying, I guarantee you, we would send our best and brightest. Japanese American to Japan, China America to China, Indian American to India. That's how a future California country would do it, in my personal opinion. But with that said, what's relevant is this. Let's get Panda Bear cryptocurrency started. Let's get this discussion going. And anytime in California, in Los Angeles and San Francisco, just go and look at the number of consulates we have. Matter of fact, if you're in the LA area, go to the City of Industry, and then you will see the impact, the investment that, yes, China is helping rebuild our economy indirectly and directly. And so this is a mathematical fact. It's an economic reality. And some people who doubt our economic prosperity as partners, I encourage California voters to please go to City of Industry, walk around, ask questions, look and see and listen. And you see that they're an important fabric of our community and society, and we're a better place for it. And once again, now is the time to think forward. And one way to do that is, once again, is to have a unified currency called a cryptocurrency called Panda Bear, the California Bear and the China's Panda Bear. Now let's look forward. Thank you.
We're going to go to closing statements, but I'd like you to incorporate an answer to this question in your closing statement. What can be done to include more Californians of heritage from Asia to run for governor? And yes, California, we're hosting these recall debates. I've looked up every single person running. There's a tiny percentage of Asians, given that they are a huge percentage of the California population. In fact, it might be the worst per capita ratio, given the size of the population in California, the number of people actually running. If you look at Latinos, it's roughly commensurate. If you look at African Americans, they're 5% of the population, but they got 3 to 5 candidates. The Asian community, at least in this recall debate, has the worst per capita representation running for governor. As an Asian Californian and Asian heritage, what would you say to get more Californians of your heritage to run for office, as is their duty and their right as a citizen? Please incorporate that answer into your final statement as to why people should vote for you. Candidate Wong.
I'll answer that in 5 seconds. Let's all vote for Fuji. Fuji will be vastly over-representing our brothers and sisters of yellow persuasion. That's one solution, right? Let's just go for over-representation all in one go. But seriously, answer would be, we need to just focus on getting the best people in elected office, and that's every city, that's every town in California. I ran for mayor, and there were 2 significant AAPI candidates, and of those 2, me being the other, my mayor now made history as the first Muslim woman of Asian descent being mayor of major large U.S. city. So it's not something that I can control, but we live in a democracy and we need democratic participation. So let's get some participation here. Let's get some 90% approval ratings. Here's my platform that anyone can take. End sales tax in California now. Everything you buy, end it. Small businesses, no longer, here's a moratorium right away, right as any of us who's governor. My pledge is a moratorium on all sales tax for all small businesses. That's an immediate 10% savings that goes directly into the pocketbooks of small business owners. Let's end property taxes. Let's end property taxes for all of us. Your first house, your primary residence, let's have a property tax exemption. Let's save everyone that 1% that I'm currently paying as a homeowner. Let's end it up to $1 million. That's, as governor of California, thank you for all the millions of votes that I got. I'm going to end your taxes. Gas tax, that's ridiculous. End the gas taxes. And we can pay for it if we all agree to increasing taxes for the wealthy and the richest. There's so many things we can do, but we're not going to break through the system if millions of people don't pay attention to this. And yeah, the folks in the chat right now, I'm going to give a shout out if I can pop open. I think Mr. Wright is one of them. Yes, Mr. Jason Wright. Thank you, brother. I'm reading all your comments. I love it. Driver's Ed. I don't know your name, but I saw your thing about gas taxes. Let's end gas taxes. Let's have billionaires pay a little bit more in taxes. Let's have corporations pay a little bit more, and let's have tax cuts for all Californians. Louis Wong for California. Thank you all.
Candace Shiera.
As always, very great from Louis. Made some very insightful comments that I truly appreciate and learn from. And, as an elected official, I'm very grateful to be here because at the ultimate day, he's my boss. He's the taxpayer. I'm the elected official, and that's how it should be. And I thank you for that compliment. And heck, maybe I should make him the lieutenant governor because now is the time to really think bold and differently. As far as I know, this is the first time we had a debate with 2 Asians running for executive office of a state, governorship. Now is the time to think boldly. I'm a candidate running for California governor. I have a website called www.governor.life. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-life because I believe in all lives matter, sanctity of life, even the soon-to-be born. Also, I believe in now is the time to confront the difficult choices in our economy. We really have to reinvigorate our economy. And one way to do that is through cryptocurrency called Panda Bear. That's with our relationship with China and California. This is very important. I have detailed plans on my site. Also, just as important, we have so many other issues to concern ourselves with, just as immigration, healthcare, and the fires that are soon to come because of the historic drought we're living in. As governor, I would have declared an emergency for all counties in the state of California, and I would put restrictions on our water usage. Yes, I said that. I would put restrictions on water usage so there would be more water access to our farmers because food security is essential for survival. Okay. And what's also just as important is we have to get our National Guardsmen trained to work with our hotshots, the brave women and men out there in the thick of the fires trying to protect us because we're so understaffed. And so many for people in that field is so underpaid. We need to get the higher pay for them. Okay. And also, as California governor, I'm here to get the job done. You heard something about us. We were talking about a high-speed rail from San Francisco, Los Angeles, and then San Diego, Tijuana, and La Paz. People, you heard it here first on Yes California. And I want to thank Marcus for giving us opportunity to speak and share our ideas here. Today is a historic moment, one of many historic moments to go forward. And I would like to propose that the China and California relationship is complex, and it's so important that all candidates should have this debate once a week, so we know what is the best solution. So now is the time to vote for me, Fuji, family, unity, justice, integrity, or my fellow Asian candidate, Luis Wen. I encourage you, look them up, look myself up, and decide who has the better policies that fit your decision and your expectations. Thank you, Marcus. This has been a wonderful debate. And I want to have another China and California debate again because it is that important. I already had one now with Lewis. I think it'd be great if we do another one with the other candidates, and especially you, Gavin, and Jeff Hewitt. Both of you are elected officials like myself. Let's serve the people. We're elected officials. We work for them. They don't work for us. It's a privilege to be in a debate with them, not the other way around. Okay? So please, Jeff Hewitt of Riverside and Gavin Newsom, Governor of California, let's do it together. Let's show the nation that we are Californians united and vigorous in civil debate to find the answers that we need. Thank you. Vote Fuji, F-U-J-I, family, unity, justice, integrity.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
That'll
Marcus.
conclude our one-on-one debate.
Mhm.
Send me an email for any other candidates you'd like to debate. We'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This concludes our one-on-one debate. We were proud to be part of this historic offering. Calixa got started with the book California's Next Century that I published. And in that book, it was all about how California was possibly the most diverse place in all of human history. And because of that, is the best place to exemplify the future of the world. It's nice to be part of that exemplification and being part of it at a very personal level. Thank you. That concludes our debate. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in the short future.
It's the California Recall Debate, hosted by Yes California.